Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are. I'm hoping that this video is working because as I'm watching it, it seems a little laggy. So if you are here, let me know that you can see and hear me and it is working. For some reason, it does seem a little laggy, but welcome. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. And I am here today to talk a little bit about some really core elements needed in organizational culture right now. We need it. And wanted to share some insights. And hello, I see you, Stephanie. Great to see you. I see you, Katie. Katie is on my team. And so good to see you. Answer this for me. This is the way we start every single live. What is making work awesome for you this week? We are on a mission to improve people's lives by making work awesome. So we all are always looking for what's making work awesome for you, or what are you doing to make work awesome this week? For me this week, my number one thing, I think there's so many things that are awesome this week, but one of them is we are kicking off a new client tomorrow. Yay! And I'm really excited about this particular client. They really have a big mission, which is to completely revolutionize the industry that they are in. It's a really purposeful mission. I am super excited to meet them. We're going live to their new office tomorrow. So really can't wait. And I see Katie saying the same thing. That is making work awesome for you this week too. Yay. Yes, we're really looking forward to that. Can't wait. So let me know in the comments if you're here live or in the replay, what's making work awesome for you this week. And I am going to kind of slowly start to get into our content. I promised to talk today about seven core elements that are needed in culture right now. And I am going to introduce all seven. And as I was prepping for this, I realized that could be 7 days of lives because it was a lot of info. So I'm probably only going to dive deeply into 3 or 4 of them to start for today, and we'll do like a part 2. But let's just start with just taking a look and thinking about kind of where we're at right now. You know, for years, quite honestly, the writing has been on the wall that, you know, unprecedented disruption of work and business and life has been happening. The term VUCA, V-U-C-A, which stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, that has been, you know, at the kind of core of our society for many years. It's been causing disruptions in work. So, you know, for decades, we've been looking at things like Netflix and Uber and Airbnb and these new technologies that were upending traditional business models. Hi, Rich, I see you. The ability to work wherever I have internet access is awesome. Yes. How great is that, right? That is one of the things that when we think about what work is like today, why did we not allow that in the past, right? This pandemic came along and completely disrupted us, and suddenly we had to work from anywhere. And a lot of organizations had to play catch up. And that is one of the things I am going to talk a little bit about. So this VUCA world that we all live in has been what's been happening. That's been the way we could describe our society for quite a while now. We've seen concepts like holacracy, which is this method of operating that completely upends hierarchy and has different circles depending on kind of roles that you're going to play within the organization, different accountabilities based on that, different decision-making processes, a really completely different organizational system. So that's holacracy. We've seen results-only work environment. If you know me, you know I'm a fan of that. So please do. I always encourage you to check out Culture RX, Jody Thompson, and Results Only Work Environment, or ROW. That is how we operate, and it means 100% accountability and 100% autonomy. Basically, just get your work done. So that's the row. And then self-management kind of organizations have been operating for decades as well. So back for some of you who maybe may have been connected with me for quite a while now, you may be familiar with some of the work I have done in the past on reinventing work and the Impact 99 summit that we used to do. And um, talking about all of these new ways of working for years and years. And over the past while, we've seen some of these starting to take hold, but there was a little bit of resistance. We did see things like agile practices becoming the norm, but not only in high tech, but also permeating other industries and functions, which is great. And even before the pandemic, there was companies like GitLab and Buffer and Dell moving to fully or mostly remote kind of ways of working, knowing that work can be done anywhere. To Rich's point, Rich's Work Awesome this week was all about working remotely. And I'm just seeing more. Thank you, Rich, for joining this conversation. I've worked remotely for 15 years, but that pandemic hit me hard because it took me away from took away my social connections via church services and activities, shopping and outdoor activities. Better now, many others are still adapting to remote work environments. Yes, you know what? It really disrupted the way we were able to connect with people. And and I'm going to focus on organizations today because that's the work we focus on. But in organizations, we had to figure out, how do we build strong human connections when we are remote and we're not in the same place? And one thing that I think I would challenge is whether there were actually strong connections even when you were in one place. You may have had more interaction. And I don't know if it was always, I shouldn't say ever. I'm sure some was, but it wasn't always deep connection, and it wasn't always productive connection, chances are. So how do we build deep and meaningful and productive connection when we're working remotely or in a hybrid world? Anyway, so some of this stuff was happening before the pandemic, and it sounds like, Rich, you were working in that kind of way, 15 years. And then along came the coronavirus, upending everything, right? No more 9 to 5 bum and seat work environments. And overnight, millions of people shifted to working from home. This was so interesting, I have to say, to me, because since 2011, I have been arguing for the ability to work from anywhere, for more freedom, for more accountability for people in organizations, for different ways of working, and gotten a lot of resistance, if I'm honest. I would often get CEOs reaching out and saying, yeah, we want to do that. And then when they realized that, no, it actually meant you weren't controlling where and when people worked anymore, that was really difficult. And then all of a sudden they had to adjust to that, right? The pandemic reframed what essential work was. It really made us take a close look at what roles maybe we undervalued in the past. So it was really this disruptive place, a disruptive kind of experience that we all collectively were going through. Hello, Lisa. So good to see you here. Perception of connections prior to pandemic, right? I have had people say, no, we're really missing, when people would have these really great collaborative conversations when they were getting coffee in the cafe. No, they weren't. They really weren't. Chances are they were not having these mind-blowingly collaborative conversations as they waited for their coffee out of the coffee machine. They were probably talking about what was pissing them off that day. And that's a very negative perspective, but chances are they were talking about like what they did on the weekend, which is great. I encourage that. Or they were talking about the meeting that just happened and what wasn't said in that meeting, those conversations are important but need to come to the forefront instead of being these side conversations. Or they might have been talking about what was bothering them at work, or venting, or whatever, or just having a surface level conversation. Chances are they were not having huge collaborative, solve the problems of the organization conversations at the coffee maker. So let's create and choreograph ways to have those real conversations, those mind-blowingly collaborative conversations. We can choreograph those in a remote world as well as in an in-person world. So I'm not going to only talk about remote today, though, because I really think we're missing the greater conversation when we do that. I am going to talk about some of the key values or principles, ways of working, how we want to operate in order to be really successful in this world, whether it's remote or in person. These things that I'm going to share today are relevant no matter what. So we're seeing companies grappling with flexibility and hybrid work policies, and leaders trying to bring everyone back to the office, and in many cases struggling because people are not willing to do that. We're seeing AI rapidly advancing, touching everything we do. It's really becoming everywhere, and increasing volatility and uncertainty in economics and politics and more. So at Blue Rebel Works, we've been working kind of on the leading edge of new ways of working for years and years. So when the pandemic hit, people were reaching out and asking for help. And as we were diving into what was challenging, I realized, back in 2013, we co-created something called the Blueprint for Workplace Reinvention. This was co-created with my colleague at the time, Christine McLeod, who's out in BC. So we were working remotely back in 2011, 12, 13 together when we were producing the Impact 99 and Reinvent Work Summit. And we created, because we were constantly researching and interviewing leaders that were kind of on the leading edge of innovation and change happening. And we were finding out what the core elements of these workplaces, where they were able to adjust so quickly, where they were able to be really successful, what they were doing differently. So we created this blueprint for workplace reinvention. And so as I was working with clients through the pandemic, I was going, oh my goodness, I'm reinventing the Workplace for Reinvention blueprint. I don't have to reinvent it. It already exists. There's probably some tweaks we need to make because we've come a little further. But back in 2013, what we were talking about is totally relevant today. So I'm going to share the blueprint, and then I'm going to dive deeply into a few of the elements. And I'd love to hear from you what you've seen successful in some of these areas, maybe what you would add, what you find challenging. Any questions you have, please pop them into the chat. I am monitoring comments as much as I can. So let me pop the blueprint for workplace reinvention up here on the screen so y'all can see it, and I'll do a little brief walkthrough. Okay, so here's the blueprint for workplace reinvention. Let's start on the right with that reinvented workplace. This is what we're all shooting for, right? And I will remind us that we created this in 2013. I might change some of the wording today. I'm not sure, but I think everything's really still relevant. We all want high levels of engagement, people who are bringing themselves to work and the discretionary effort and really that care about the work they do. We all want loyal, engaged customers. We want lower turnover. We want less stress. Please give us less stress. We want to be faster to market with new and innovative products. We want to win the war for talent. That's continuing for sure. And we want high profitability and results, right? That's what these organizations that Christine and I at the time were interviewing and researching. That's what they were achieving, that we all want. And we saw that they had these high performing cultures made up of these two core elements. They had high levels of organizational trust, up, down, across the organization, and with their communities and customers. and they had high levels of organizational agility. They could make change happen quickly. They were always looking ahead to what needed to be done, and really change was a part of everyone's role in the organization. So these high performing cultures were what they had. So we started at, okay, we need to build trust and agility. Well, that seems easy. Not. A lot of times we'll say like, oh, you need to build trust, or we'll hear people talking about building trust. And how are you building trust? Well, you need some core elements to do these things. So that's where I'm going to kind of dive into a bit of the nitty gritty on the left-hand side. These 7, 4 green and 4 orange, if you're looking at the screen, elements. And what we realized as we worked with these organizations was that you need to start at the bottom and kind of work your way up. If you are going to go for relentless innovation right away, but you don't have strategic alignment or you don't have transparency, you're going to miss out. And that innovation might be innovating the wrong things or in the wrong way, or not with the best of intentions or the most aligned intentions. So we want to start at the bottom. And so I'm going to dive into the green pieces today. Like I said, when I started prepping for this live, I realized if I was going to cover all 7 elements, we might be here for a very long time. So I'm going to cover the few first few. Okay, so I'm going to start down at the base with that strategic alignment. So let me just pop up a little definition here. Strategic alignment. This is when employees in your organization know where the company's headed, they know what the outcomes are and the behaviors are that are necessary for your company to succeed, for their department to succeed. It's all aligned, and they know what's needed by them in their day-to-day work. This is a big ask. And the more I work with different organizations, the more I realize this is a big need that's not being met, the strategic alignment, right? Now, this strategic alignment starts at the top of the organization. One of the books I always love, and I go back to time and time again, is Patrick Lencioni's 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And in that book, he talks about the first team, the senior team's first team. So I always love this concept. One of the tips for building strategic alignment is to ensure that your C-suite is each other's first team. So what does that mean? It means when you ask your senior team, who's your team, or what are you talking to your team about? The team that they're thinking about, are they thinking about the people that report underneath them or to them, their department, or that part of the organization that they're responsible for? Or are they talking about that C-suite team where everyone is building the organization? And most of the time, in my experience, they are talking about the team that reports to them. And when that's your first team, you're not as aligned as you could be. And so alignment really starts with our executive teams. It's really important for leaders to define the objectives that set the course for the rest of the organization. And in doing that, it's so critical that they are having healthy conflict about what's really important, so that they are talking through and kind of debating and really feeling committed to and aligned to the final decision of what's most important. So the leaders at the top of the organization being aligned and committed and connected is so, so critical for getting this started. This is one of the reasons why I love the work we do in team coaching. We bring in organization and relationship systems coaching, especially with senior teams. I find this valuable because it helps teams open up and be much more vulnerable, but they build much more trust, and they build some really strong agreements about how they have conflict, and like what's important and how they work through things when there are those challenges. So if your senior team is lacking that strategic alignment, then it's going to be really, really hard for the rest of your organization to be fully aligned. And I'm just checking the comments. I see some people. Oh, wrong one. Some people jumping in here. Rich, what I'm seeing more and more these days is lack of organizational cohesiveness. Teams are shifting before they get into the stages of norming and performing, and leaders seem to be struggling with allowing teams to mature and fire on all cylinders. Interesting one. So there is one of our, a bunch of things are coming to mind for this right now, but one of the elements of the blueprint is dynamic collaboration, because one of the things that we were seeing in these teams back in 2013 when we wrote this was that some of these really successful organizations, the teams weren't always in place for a very long time. They were shifting continuously, but they were able to team really quickly. There's actually some work Amy Edmondson's done on teaming as like a verb. How do teams come together and be able to be cohesive and team together really quickly? So I would say the team coaching is so necessary. Setting team agreements as soon as that team gets kind of put together, getting really clear, getting some of that, the norming and storming, like the storming out of the way so you can perform right at the beginning is so critical, because you need to be able to kind of flex and dynamically collaborate. So that piece is a really interesting one. So alignment of your team starting at that C-suite. That is the first kind of tip around strategic alignment. The next one is just publishing strategic goals. I'm always surprised when I run into organizations that they aren't being really public and continuing to look at the strategic goals and aligning department and individual goals to those and making them all public. The more transparent, operational transparency is another piece of building that organizational trust. But the more transparent your goals are, the more aligned everyone can be. And so I highly recommend, so of course, your organizational goals and strategic plan should be public to your organization. Departmental goals should be public to the organization. And I suggest individual goals even being shared publicly, so that, this is and goals and projects, as much as you can share publicly across your organization, that's going to help people be aligned, help them understand how the work they're doing might play with someone else's work. Oh my gosh, this makes me super excited when I see the people in the comments actually conversing with each other. So Lisa has such deep experience in kind of OD leadership development and that piece. And thank you. The lack of organizational vision is so critical. That's the piece. That's why we start. And I'm going to pop this model up here one more time real quick. That's why if you don't start at the bottom of this model with that strategic alignment down at the base, does my little arrow show up a little bit? Yeah. If we don't start at strategic alignment down at the base of this model with sharing that organizational vision, your mission, knowing where you're going, if you don't start there, then as you're teaming together, that's going to be really hard to team quickly and to get collaborating effectively really quickly. Thank you so much, Lisa, for weighing in there as well. And okay, I'm just going to share one more tip on that strategic alignment, which is around embedding your vision, mission, and strategy. And one of the examples I have seen for this was in Nordstrom's. This is an organization that is well known for their service, courteous service. They are well known for their handbook that only has one rule around doing what's best for the customer. And I don't have it handy right now, but really clear about that. But they embedded that way of thinking everywhere, right? It was embedded in their shift meetings, every shift. It was embedded in their staff rooms. It talked about when you entered their staff rooms, it said something like only the most courteous people come in here. So as I'm walking in, I'm embedded in this aligned vision for what service is like at Nordstrom's right away. I'm aligned to, okay, I'm walking in here. I am a courteous person because I work here and I feel like I'm part of that. So how can you embed your mission, your vision in all that you do? So often we come out with our strategic plan, we present it, and then maybe quarterly, maybe biannually, we kind of go back to that and check in. Maybe it's performance review time, and that's the time that we check in. We need to be embedding the pieces and the language and the stories and the recognition for moving our strategy forward in everything we do. So the more you can embed your vision, mission, strategy across everything and across teams. So if you're a leader right now and you're not in the C-suite, you hopefully have access to your strategic plan. Even if no one has told you to do this, you don't have to wait to be told. You can bring that strategic plan to your team. I'm giving you this permission. Hopefully that's okay in your organization. But bring your strategic plan to your team and say, how does the work we're doing every day help with this strategy? How does the work that we're doing on this project help us to reach these goals? How does the work you're doing in your role make a difference to our strategy? What if our team didn't exist? Would we meet our strategy, right? Help your team to understand how the work they do every day is aligned to your vision, mission, and strategy, and continue to go back to that. Okay, strategic alignment. That is the first piece. I'm just going to let you know, by the way, we have a book. It's about 100 pages long, an ebook that I can send you called The Blueprint for Workplace Reinvention. I'll pop it up just so you can see what that looks like. Yeah, here we go. Let me just share this screen real quick. I am happy to share this with you. We used to sell it. I'm happy to send it. If you are here now or in the comments and you would like a copy of this, let me just kind of scroll through. You'll see in here, we basically go through each element, why it matters, some examples of it in action, and then tips on how to get started. And these are mostly different from what I'm sharing today in the live. So this was written in 2013. So some of the examples might be, well, they're a decade old. I can't believe it, but still relevant probably. So happy to share that blueprint book with you. If you want to message me, just let me know, kind of blueprint, please. Message me and let me know. Okay, second element I'm going to share. And can someone let me know if I'm still if my video is still working well, because it is lagging as I'm looking at it. So let me know in the comments if I'm still here. I see a clap. I see D. Yes, I'm happy, D, to share with you one of our copies of the blueprint. I will definitely send you that. And oh, Lisa, absolutely. I am happy. Okay. Ursula, Rich, yes, I see you all. Okay, I will come back in here and make sure that y'all get copies of that book. Going back to the model real quick so I can dive into our second element. The second element is authentic humanity. So reminder, we're starting at the bottom on the green side. If you start at the top and you don't have these foundational pieces, you're not going to be able to be dynamically collaborating, to be relentlessly innovating, etc. So we start with strategic alignment, aligning your C-suite, making sure that your goals are aligned throughout the organization, shared transparently, and then embedding vision, mission, strategy in all the things you do. Now let's move to number 2 element, which is authentic humanity. This is honestly probably my personal favorite element because authenticity is a really core value of mine. So, authentic humanity is all about creating organizations where employees are recognized as humans first, where they can bring their best selves to work, they can connect with their colleagues, their customers, their community, their leaders, and employees feel connected and relate deeply to the purpose of the work, more than profitability, more than like just having a job, but really actually feeling like the work they do is meaningful. This is, when we think about authentic humanity, I think that the pandemic caused was a catalyst for this to come to light for people as well. In for years and years and years, as we worked with teams and with leaders in our leadership development, we would talk a lot about empathy and compassion and emotional intelligence, and like deep listening, and we would get quite a bit of kind of pushback from some leaders that like, really, I just need my people to get their work done. I don't have time to spend connecting with them and hearing what their challenges are and like listening about their weekend or whatever that was. We just need to get work done. And I think when the pandemic hit, people realized, oh, this human side, this authentic humanity piece is actually critical. And it was missing for a lot of people. And people were demanding that human focused connection. So authentic humanity is all about that. It's the person focus and helping people feel like they're something greater than just their day-to-day tasks. It's helping powerful connections be established between employees. And that translates into connections with your customers as well. So let's take a look at I'll share one example first. Actually, I'm going to share the example of Motley Fool. This is an investment kind of company, and they have core values, as probably your organization does. But one of their core values is Motley. That is the first name of their company. The core value is Motley. And what Motley is actually your personal core value. So when I look at their other four values, I want to be aligned to the four values, but then that fifth value is Motley, and that's my own personal core value that I want to bring to work. And I love that as a great example of recognizing that we're all bringing our own selves and our own experiences and our values to work, and allowing for that and making the space for that. So authentic humanity. One of the tips on authentic humanity is to share and learn people's personal values. So I love values work. We use something called Barrett Values Assessment to do our culture work. And it asks people what their personal values are, what the values they're experiencing at work are, and what the desired culture values would be, so that you can really start to see gaps or alignment across those. And when we can understand people's personal values and what they're bringing to work, and especially organizationally or across your whole team, what those themes are, you can really start to lean into that and recognize that and encourage that and figure out how that can help you to achieve your goals as well. So the other thing I would say about this is one of my favorite pieces of research that comes out every year is Edelman's Trust Barometer. They have released their 2023 barometer, so please check that out. Edelman's Trust Barometer it is. Katie, if you're still here, you can shoot the link for Edelman's Trust Barometer maybe in the comments for everyone. So authentic humanity values. What Edelman found was a few years ago, they dove deeper into what caused people to trust a CEO. And the number one thing was CEOs who shared their personal values. So leaders, you have to share your own personal values with your teams and ask about theirs, right? People want to know who you are. They want to follow people who they feel more connected with. So sharing your personal values is a key part of building authentic humanity. The next tip on building authentic humanity is to invest in human skills training. I say human skills and not soft skills because for years we talked about these as like soft skills, and the skills around humans are hard skills. They are difficult, they're challenging sometimes, and they are actual skills. It's not like soft, mushy stuff. So invest in human skills training and practice. So that means training around empathy, around coaching with compassion, around emotional intelligence. Really, really important to help your leaders to build those skills so that they can respond to all the challenges that come up with their teams with those skills in mind, so that people feel safe and so that people feel like they can be themselves and bring themselves to work. So invest in human skills training. We do that, by the way, so we're happy to help you with that. And then the third, really tactical, specific tactic that you can take away to build authentic humanity is to do regular check-ins. And a check-in is different than a check-on. We're not checking on the work or checking on whether you're working or checking on when you're working or where you're working or anything like that. We're checking in with you and connecting with you personally. And we use some check-in generators to do this, or just, what's happening. If we know what's happening in each other's lives, we'll just ask more deep questions about that. But we love some check-in generators for this. There's one called Who Cards. I think the URL would be who, as in who are you, whocards.cc, I believe. And Katie, maybe you can pop that link in the chat too. It's a great check-in generator. Another check-in generator is done by DareSay, and I don't know the URL on that. If you are together in person, I love Jan Keck's Ask Deep Questions cards for this. So I encourage you to check out Jan. It's Jan Keck, Keck, and his Ask Deep Questions. Esther Perel also has a game, Where Should We Begin, which I haven't bought yet, but it's coming. So these different ways to ask a check-in question at the beginning of a meeting or at the beginning of a day, just to check in with people as humans, builds that connection. When the pandemic hit, a lot of people were really were creating these like cocktail hours where people would come together unnaturally to kind of connect online and things for an hour, and like the separate connection time was really like kind of created in what felt unnatural to a lot of people, and it was a little bit extra. That's why we suggest connecting regularly instead of creating a separate connection time. So authentic humanity, really sharing and learning about people's personal values and purpose. Purpose is another big piece of this, understanding your personal purpose. We just had a workshop on personal leadership purpose last week and did a whole visualization around like imagining your legacy, the legacy you're leaving, and how are you building that every day in your work. So helping people to realize that and to feel more connected and more meaning. So share and learn personal values and purpose, invest in human skills training, and do those regular check-ins. Super simple tactic. And I will cover one more of these for today. The third element, let's pop that blueprint back up on the screen. Third element I'll chat about is individual leadership. Individual leadership. So this is where you've created an organization where employees take personal responsibility for their own actions every day. They are engaged in their work. They are looking for opportunities to make a difference, to move projects forward, to make decisions that help you to reach those strategically aligned goals. Because you're strategically aligned, everyone knows what's important, so they have the freedom to make good decisions that are going to help your strategy. So this, here's the definition. I'll pop that up on the screen and come back here. So that personal responsibility, everyone taking personal responsibility or accountability for their own actions every day. Individual leadership, my favorite example are those organizations that are operating as a results-only work environment, or ROW. Again, check out gorow.com if you are interested in more info on this. I'm going to give you the example of CMHC, which is the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. This is kind of, I believe it's a crown corporation, so much more regulated than many organizations. But they operate as a results-only work environment. So how that impacted them when the pandemic hit was that they already had their organization was already aligned, had really clear goals, objectives, expectations. They knew what the outcome of their work was. They already had the freedom to work where, when, and how they could to get their work done. And so when the pandemic hit, there wasn't this huge battle and struggle to figure out, how do we get people the technology they need? How do we make sure they're working? How do we, let people to work at home all of a sudden? There was none of that, because everyone just knew what they were responsible for and how to get their work done in any way they needed to. All they needed to worry about was well-being, right? So they were able to really quickly just adjust and focus on everyone's well-being, focus on, taking care and connecting their teams. That was their focus. So that individual leadership that they already had embedded as part of their results-only work environment really helped them to be ahead of many, many organizations. So with individual leadership, what are some things you can do to build this? The first thing is get clear about individual objectives and expectations. So many people, I don't think, actually are clear about what they are supposed to accomplish at work. They know that they go to work every day. They know that they work from 9 to 5 or whatever their work hours might be, if you've kind of mandated that. But they don't necessarily really focus on what they're supposed to accomplish. And this is where people can be more autonomous and accountable, when they are really, really clear about what they're responsible for. So get super clear about what people need to accomplish, what a great job looks like. Again, going back to that strategic alignment, how is their work aligned to the goals of the organization? How can they work in alignment to the values or that humanity of the organization as well? Get really, really clear. Second tip on building individual leadership is coaching training. This is critical to building that autonomy and that accountability. When I, as a leader, have someone come to me with a challenge or a problem they're facing, and I solve that problem for them and give them what they should do, I am taking accountability and autonomy from them. So if that solution doesn't work out, whose fault is it? Me. I'm the one who told you to do that. If that, and not that we want to blame people, but we want them to be able to solve their own challenges, right? And learn from the mistakes that they might make. So when I solve their problem for them, I am taking their autonomy away, their autonomy of choice, right? So we really want to grow our leaders' ability to dive into that challenge, to understand more what it is, to ask really great questions to help that employee uncover what they're assuming, what they're making judgments about that might not be true, what really is going on. and to uncover options, multiple options, and explore those options and be able to choose and move forward, right? So we want them to be able to do all that rather than us as leaders always being the decision maker and the one that's telling what or how to do something. So coaching training for your managers is so, so important. They don't need to be professional coaches. They do need to ask a few more questions before solving a problem, or ask a few more questions and let the employee solve the problem. And if it doesn't work out, ask a few more questions and help the employee learn from that, right? So coaching skills, those questioning skills, and that uncovering kind of curiosity is so, so needed for our leaders. Great way to build individual leadership. And then finally, the third and final tip on this is when objectives aren't met, coaching to uncover what happened and what's getting in the way of us meeting our objectives, what's stopping you from meeting that goal, from achieving that, and uncovering those options instead of saying, well, you're not meeting your objectives. You'll have to come back to the office from 9 to 5 every day. The problem when we do that is that we're managing the wrong gosh darn thing. So when we tell someone that the solution to the problem is coming into the office, we aren't solving the problem of the work. We're just managing that person, managing their time, managing their location, and we're not managing the work. And again, I am encouraging you to go check out gorow.com for more on Row, because that's where I really understood how to get clear about what the work was and being clear about objectives and results focused, results only work environment rather than time, which is often the currency that we think helps us at work, and it's not. Okay, so that was organizational leadership. I will be back live every Monday, except for holiday Mondays, to share more. So in my next live, I will dive into some of these other pieces of the blueprint for workplace reinvention. Again, I will just pop it right back up here just so we know where we're going to go next. Next time I'm here, I will cover operational transparency and that ultimate organizational trust, and we'll see if we can get into some digital fluency as well. Again, happy to send you a copy of the full 100-page workbook, all about the blueprint. It gives you a deep dive into each of these and tips on each of these. Just shoot me a message or comment to say blueprint, please, and I will send you that over. You'll be ahead of us when we get to the next live. And I see, will we receive a link to the recording to review it again if we would like? I don't actually know how that works, Lisa, but I know the recording will be here on LinkedIn. So you can definitely see the recording on my profile. You can come back here and see this whole recording here. And all of the future recordings will be here as well. And Dee can probably help us with that too. Dee is behind the scenes member of my team. She is the one who helps me hold it all together on LinkedIn. So Dee can probably help us to figure that out as well. I see you, Teresa, asking for the blueprint. We will get that to you. And I would like to leave you with one final thought, and that is just to find a way to make work awesome today. I said at the beginning of this recording that improving people's lives by making work awesome is our mission at Blue Rebel Works. So we are always looking for ways to help you make work awesome and to help you find your own ways to make work awesome. Because there's one thing I know for sure, a lot of us are waiting for other people to make work awesome for us. And we always have an opportunity to make work awesome for ourselves and our colleagues. So find a way today to make work awesome. And I will see you next week, if not before. Have a fabulous